Club tutorial channel. I'm Maddie, and today I'm going to be taking you through the steps how to make one of these cute little shirred crop tops. We're going to make it slightly different and add some cute tie sleeves so you don't have to continually have to pull it up, and then also a cute little frilled section just so you can cover up a bit more of the stomach in case you don't want to wear high-waisted stuff all the time. So to get started on something like this, you'll need some lightweight fabric so that it has the ability to gather well. I've got linen, and I'll talk through how much you'll need of that to make this. Pins are optional if you like to use them. You'll then need some matching thread to whatever the material you have. Need obviously the bobbin matched to the thread, and then also need an empty bobbin, which we'll then hand thread with this shirring thread, and I'll talk through that in a bit as well. And then if you'd like to measure out the gaps between each line, then this is some fabric chalk. Also need a pen or a paintbrush or something long and thin like this so we can pull out the sleeves. A little trick I'll show you later. Some scissors obviously to cut, and then a spare pen and paper just so you can write down all your measurements and have them handy when it's time to start sewing and cutting and doing all that. And when you do this, don't pull it too tight, but have it just at a good amount because it's nice just to have it a little bit looser and always have a bit extra in case you do need to bring it in later. So whatever that measurement is, so mine's 33, we're going to add 12 inches. So this is allowing seam allowance and the allowance for it to gather. And what we're going to do is we're going to halve that. And the easy way to do that is just grab the measuring tape, fold it in half, and whatever that section is your half measurement. So mine's 23.5. And that's going to be the width of the panel that we cut. And the height, so as I mentioned before, we're going to have a shirred section up the top and then a cute little frill underneath. So to get the full measurement of that, if you don't have a top like this, then just measure from where you think you're going to have it start down to the point that you want the shirring to finish. So mine ends up being about 6 inches. And then add the length of the frill that you want. So I'm going to have mine at 2 inches, just nice and small. So all up that's 8 inches. And then I'm going to add an inch on either side for seam allowance, so that's 2 inches you add, which then makes it 10. So that's the height that I'll be cutting the panel. Then next we're going to figure out the measurements for the straps. So how I do this is I find the final measurement of what I want the straps to look like. So for me, I'm going to make them nice and thick and have it at about 1.5 inches. And then what we do, we fold it in half and sew it down. So we'll need to double that to find the cutting width. So that takes it to 3 inches. And then add 1 inch seam allowance. So all up, it started at 1.5, doubled that to 3, and then added 1 inch of seam allowance, which takes me to 4 inches. So that's the width that I'll be cutting for the strap. And then going to find the length that we'll be cutting it. So same thing, find the point of where it's going to stop, which for me is there. Measure it to the top of your shoulder, which takes me to 8 inches. And then we're going to add or figure out how long you want the extra part to be where it's going to tie. So 8, I want mine to be probably another 12 inches. So it's a bit of a dramatic effect when you tie it. So 8 plus 12 equals 20, plus seam allowance. So we're going to add 2 inches. So that's 1 inch for either side, which gets me to 22 inches. So that's how long I'm going to cut the strap. So I've got all the measurements, and now I start cutting. So the good thing about this top is it's nice and small, so I've just used this from an offcut from another thing that I've sewn. It's a nice linen, I think linen cotton combination. And because it is leftover fabric, it has stripes, but I'm going to have the stripes going in different directions just because of what's available. So there you have it. So we've got 6 pieces all up now. We've got the 4 straps and then the 2 front and back panels. so many different ways of how you can thread this on, so it's up to you. If you've got your own way, do that, but this is just one way that I've learned and I've enjoyed to do it. So get your empty bobbin and thread or attach the shirring thread through. Get that started, and I'm going to hand thread this on here, and the reason that I'm doing this is because when you do this you have control of how much it stretches onto here. So it's like an elastic thread, that's the thing that gathers the fabric. By hand threading it like this, it means that you can add it onto the bobbin without stretching it, because sometimes stretching it allows it or stops it from shirring properly and gathering up. Again, everyone does it differently, but this is how I like to do it. Cool, so now that that's all threaded, we'll pop it into the machine. I've already threaded my machine with my other thread. So what you do with this, it's wound on there, then you just pop it in as you would. So the good thing about linen, most of the time there's not really a good or bad side, but generally you want the good side facing up so that the clean thread is showing on that side, and then the elastic shirring thread is hidden underneath, and that's where all the busy gathered area sits. So what I'm going to do is, if you have a preferred top side, get that ready. This is where you can iron it, pin it, whatever, and then I'm going to double fold that so then it hides all the frayed seams. I don't have an overlocker, but if you have an overlocker, obviously you can do that. And this will be the first top row. So what I'm going to do is just sew it like normal. And I'll show you how it turns out after the first one. Perfect, so that's the first one. Obviously there's no dramatic change, just a straight thing, but that's the thing with shirring. So the first few you can't really see a difference, but once you get to the first handful and after that, that's where you start to see it gather. So I'm just going to keep sewing and I'll show you how it turns out. Perfect, so now I've got the two shirred pieces. I'll show you how they turned out. So as you can see, I've done the top like 2/3 in the gathered shirred thread. Cute! And I've rethreaded my machine, so I've taken out the bobbin with the shirred thread and put in the normal thread now, because I'm just going to clean up the bottom edges, sew the sides together, try it on, see if any adjustments are needed on the side. I'll talk you through a French seam as well. A friend taught me how to do that. It's just a way to make the inside seams nice and clean if you don't have an overlocker, or even if you do, it's just a little shortcut. And then we'll get the sleeves all prepped, attach them onto here, and turn it into a cute shirt. Perfect, so now we have all the sides cleaned up on the top and bottom. So where we're up to is we're going to now join the two pieces together. Normally you would face the good sides in and on each other, but I'm going to do a French seam for this. So the first one, we're going to face the bad sides together, so both the good sides are facing out. Just place them on top of each other, make sure the frills are both matching on the bottom side and the top edges meet, and then just get these ready. Either pin them in place or whatever, sew down the sides. So fun at this point, like you start with just scrap fabric everywhere, and this is where you start seeing it actually turn into like a garment. So cute. So this might be a good time to try it on and just make sure that it's nice and snug. So what I'm going to do now is we want this to be cut as close as possible to that seam line, just so that when we flip it inside out to then sew the good sides together, it's not hanging out. So that final line that I just sewed down, I'm going to cut probably half a centimeter away from it. And then when I sew it on the other side, I'll make sure that I sew about like a centimeter from the edge so that it sits inside of it. Make sure at this point that you don't accidentally chop the main bit. That's always the most devastating thing. Okay, perfect. So that's cut closer to the seam line now. Flip it inside out, or opposite way that we had it. So now it looks like a clean seam, but actually we're going to just sew down again. And like I said, so it's cut about half a centimeter from the edge, so if we sew at least a centimeter in, that means the frayed bit should get hidden within it. So now the good sides are facing each other on the inside and the bad sides are facing out. I'll just sew down the sides. Do it again on the other side. So that is the little panel all done. So cute. And obviously there's a few little straggly pieces of string, but we'll cut that off and clean it up at the end. So that is all good to go for the straps. Grab one of them, fold it in half widthways, so the length stays the same, the width we're halving because we're folding it. So it ends up being like that. And we're going to sew across the top, down the open side, and then leave that other side open. And I'll show you what we'll do with that. We're at the point now where we flip it so the good sides show themselves. So what we do with that paintbrush or pen or whatever you ended up grabbing that's nice and long and thin, that edge that we shut with the seam, we're going to pop this there and put it up against that as a bit of a pressure, and then move the fabric so it separates and just start to pull it over the top. And then you can use the tips of it to push all the ends out, get rid of it, and then unfold it, and then it's all nice and clean and doesn't have any like sewing lines showing. And it's fine, like this little edge is all fine being open and frayed, we can clean it up, but that's the bit that's going to get hidden underneath, so that's all good. So I'll just repeat that for the next few straps and I'll show you how it turns out. So I finished the 3 other straps. Now I have all 4 straps sewn, flipped out, nice and clean and ready to attach to the body. So what we're going to do is figure out how far apart we want them. So if you have a bra strap or something else on, that could always be a good indicator of where you want it to sit. Otherwise you can just go by eye and figure out at which point you want it to go over. I've measured the full amount, halved it, that equals 9.5. So that gives me my halfway point. And then because I wanted the difference, the distance here to be 8 inches, I'll then measure from that halfway point out by 4 to one side and out by 4 to the other side, and that will give me my 8 inches, but at least I know it's centered, working from the center. So from 9 I'll put a mark at 5, and then this point 9 to 13. At least if you mark it, pin it in place, then you can work out by eye if it looks right. If not, adjust. But this works for me. If you have a different way, that's totally fine to do it that way as well. Perfect. So now they are all joined. And the next thing to do is flip it out, get rid of all the little string bits hanging off, try it on, and then just hold it in place and figure out where you want it tied and tie it up. So I'll go do that and I'll show you how it turned out. Ta-da! So this is what it turned out to be like. It's still a bit short, and obviously you can custom make it to however you want it to be, if you want it lower, whatever. But I think it's really cute. So here's a little shirred top with a little frill bottom and tie sleeves. Hope you enjoyed it, hope it all made sense. Let me know what you think below, and if you do try and make it, tag me at the Essentials Club on Instagram or send it to me or whatever. Would love to see how yours turns out.